Have you ever pondered what guidance a more experienced INFJ might offer a more junior one? We acquire important life lessons along the way, which mold our viewpoints and direct our choices. These pearls of wisdom come from the shared wisdom of those who have gone before us in addition to our own personal experiences. So grab a seat and join us as we set out on this fascinating adventure of personal development. A younger INFJ receives 10 essential pointers from an older one. Stay tuned. First, show vulnerability and bravery. Vulnerability is the antidote to cowardice, not bravery. Being vulnerable for us, INFJ, entails blocking out the inner critic. The greatest method to cope with your critic, you may have heard or read, is to turn it into a helpful coach that says constructive things instead of saying things like, "Don't know." Not you can't. Don't even think about it. It simply doesn't work, which is the issue. Refusing to listen to it will provide far greater results than trying to force it into something it is not. I constantly question myself, what is the worst that can happen? To help me get past my inner critic. It turns out that you can actually work things out with your critic. And by asking just one simple question, I was able to accomplish my goals most of the time. By doing this consistently, you will lessen the critic's power over you. This is crucial because we become prejudiced against inaction, and our ability to grow will be severely restricted when we have a harsh critic. Thus, the first step toward becoming more vulnerable and the first step toward an INFJ's more fulfilling life is releasing oneself from the critic's hold. Secondly, set goals for yourself and take initiative. Overthinking is another devil in the INFJ cranium that is related to what I just mentioned. Every time I make a joke, I say that the INFJ should be doing the under-delivering and overthinking instead. It is important to keep in mind that thoughts are not very active on their own. Rather, thoughts are brought to life through action. Put another way, while thoughts lead to action. Thought alone is a waste of time and energy in the absence of action. It's a common misconception that passion leads to action, but in reality, it works the opposite way around. Action is what leads to passion. We don't know our abilities and shortcomings until we do something. Only then do we realize what we are good or bad at. For this reason, we must force ourselves to act even when we don't feel like it. To force ourselves, it might occasionally be helpful to start a task immediately away, or the first step in a multi-step procedure. It's also a terrific idea to train our brain to make finishing to-do lists a daily habit. Regardless of the approach you take, make it a habit to be proactive at all times and to push yourself when needed. Thirdly, follow your gut feeling, but in case it doesn't work, have a fallback strategy. Owing to our extraordinary intuitions, INFJ are renowned for being excellent spotters, connectors, visionaries, and even profit makers. However, there will be instances when our intuition isn't working properly. For instance, when we are ill, hungry, irate, experiencing menstruation, or lacking sufficient sleep, we may not consume correct or sufficient food. Our intuition won't match reality during those instances. Put another way, when we're taking care of ourselves, our intuition functions best. When we're not, it performs badly. In situations where our intuition fails to provide us with the necessary insights, we should keep in mind that data, direct observation or direct inquiry, is a fantastic, dare I say, far superior substitute for intuition because, unlike our erratic human brains, which function differently depending on how well we take care of them, data never lies. Thus, trust data in Plan B and intuition in Plan A. Fourthly, be mindful of your own dishonesty. We are emotional beings that yearn to connect and believe in all that is significant. This is particularly true for individuals with high intuition scores. The issue is that we may draw connections between seemingly unrelated items if it's done under periods of extreme stress or protracted seclusion. It's similar, to when a devout person says they can see God's face in a cow dish. My argument is that because we already possess the necessary components, intuitive fear, it is simpler for infj to enter self-deception mode. Therefore, we need to be especially watchful if we don't want to put it nicely, lose ourselves in our own thoughts and turn everyone around us against us. There are two ways to prevent yourself from believing lies to yourself. First, work with someone who is a strong believer in reality, also known as a thinker, like ENTP, or INTP, or INTP. If they are your mentors, extra credit. Second, avoid social isolation. Our thoughts and ideas are filtered via friends, and true friends will let you know when you sound like you're smoking something. Hitler's views, which meticulously compiled 2,000 years' worth of grievances against Jews in order to justify a deadly extermination, were motivated by self-deception. His own propaganda had essentially corrupted him. Thus, please have a responsible belief. Fifth, happiness does not equate to perfection. Certain individuals among us may possess strong personalities and be perfectionists, which can be extremely taxing on our lives. We demand perfection from others, including ourselves and our spouses, and we become irate and agitated when something is out of order. Moreover, control is impossible because life and the world are by their very nature chaotic and random. Even though we put a lot of effort into trying to influence others and make them do what we want, our efforts almost always end in failure. To get the most out of managing perfectionism, there are two approaches, and I suggest utilizing both. One is to learn the Zen skill of letting things happen naturally. Excellent content can be found in books, social media groups, YouTube, and other places. I've discovered that even just understanding about Zen ideas may make a beneficial difference in my life, especially my tendency toward perfectionism. 2. Learn about emotional intelligence, which is the skill of subtly or charismatically influencing others. Having a high emotional intelligence score allows you to influence others covertly. Influencing people when they're not on the defensive is the tricky part. Although they have comparable results, influencing someone does not equate to controlling them. Sixth, explore and establish a connection with your subconscious by means of lucid dreaming. When you experience lucid dreaming, a highly realistic sleep state, you become partially cognizant and aware of your surroundings, giving you complete control and engagement. Consider a completely immersive virtual reality encounter. Lucid dreams can be compared to a more intense kind of meditation, serving as a means of introspection. I've been able to uncover aspects of myself that I was totally ignorant of thanks to lucid dreams. The remarkable experiences I've had with lucid dreaming have genuinely transformed my life and thought process. They exude a difficult-to-describe spiritual feeling. Our extroverted feeling function is primarily directed outward, which leaves little opportunity for introspection. I think that lucid dreaming is a very powerful tool for self-discovery, and it's especially helpful when we're feeling sad, lost, or depressed. It can also help with phobias, nightmares, emotional or creative issues, and past traumas. There are numerous online the manuals for lucid dream induction. And last, are we destined to be alone? Not always. It truly depends on how much you are prepared to give up in terms of authenticity or lifestyle. Some INFJ put their relationships at risk in order to pursue authenticity above everything else. Some people detest being alone and are prepared to compromise who they truly are in order to fit into a relationship. Being as genuine as possible and going in the middle is how I myself prefer to behave, with the exception of romantic relationships where it doesn't work out. To put it another way, like every partnership, there is some giving and taking. The world is telling you it won't work out if there is too much disagreement because of your sincerity. I would also like to encourage you to view loneliness differently than how most people do, which is as a bad thing. According to statistics, our best friends are INFPs and our soulmates are ENFPs. However, some people may be mistyped, so those conclusions should be treated with a grain of salt. Eighthly, outrageous loyalty checks result from furious behavior. The INFJ personality type is the most prone to exhibit indignant behavior, which is the feeling or expressing of wrath or irritation over what is thought to be unfair treatment. Now, bear in mind that while this view may occasionally be warranted, it is not most of the time. At least not in my experience. It's only an emotion that fades with time. Referring back to the earlier point, you are more prone to act indignantly when you are upset, sleepy, hungry, etc., even if it is not actually warranted. This leads to some really ludicrous loyalty checks for the parties involved. These can range from demanding to give up friends, family, or job to being, at worst, passive. Aggressive. The instant the INFJ concludes that the other person has been unjust, dishonest, or disloyal, morality is thrown out the window. Here's how I handle my sentiments of outrage. First, don't panic. 2, avoid making any assumptions. 3, get some rest and forget about it. Avoid making snap decisions. 99% of your emotional issues can be resolved with sleep. Finally, choose your battles carefully. Occasionally, you can feel the need to attack someone you think has been unfair. Whatever that phrase means to you, this is because of your ambition. In the cause of fairness, justice, and equality, INFJ are renowned for upending entire power structures, spearheading social movements, upsetting churches, and even defying the powerful British Empire. Mahatma Gandhi and I, and INFJ, we will constantly create opponents and possibly run the risk of dying in the process. Make sure you are worth fighting the struggle you have chosen. Make sure you don't hurt anyone who have assisted you in developing. Recall that hurt people only hurt other people. Sometimes all you need to do is discuss it with a person you truly trust. 10th, go exploring. What would you do if money and time weren't an issue? Is a question I get asked frequently. I reply, professional explorer, every time. And with good cause. Not only are we INFJ naturally interested, but we continue to be so well into adulthood. Although most people seem to believe that curiosity fades after childhood, the majority of INFJ that I've encountered have interests that are so deep and varied that you would assume they're making things up. However, once they begin discussing their hobbies, they won't stop. They become animated and enthusiastic, wanting to fill you in on everything. We are motivated by curiosity, enthusiasm, and love, whereas most people are motivated by greed, prestige, and power. I'm here to tell you to follow your heart because the best life is one filled with curiosity, passion, and love, even though your parents may want you to have a reliable career and health insurance. There's nothing wrong with that. Never allow anyone make fun of you for having a variety of passions or interests. Finally, we sincerely hope that these nuggets of wisdom were useful to you. We want to hear from you because, as fellow INFJ, we also believe in the power of collective wisdom and shared experiences. Which nuggets of wisdom are you? What lessons have you learned along the way as an INFJ? Post your ideas in the comments section below. We would want to hear about your experiences and gain knowledge from them. Recall that your voice counts in our community. Every remark, every story, every nugget of knowledge can assist someone else who could be facing similar challenges. Please consider subscribing to our channel if you found this video to be helpful.